Well, greetings to you all from Oklahoma City. Welcome to the first video presentation for HST 301, Introduction to Christian Traditions, number one. So this will be the first in a sort of two-parter that will be typically in the fall and the spring. So I just wanted to send you a word of welcome. My name is Jacob Randolph. I will be your professor, your tour guide through this journey into the history of Christianity. And so this brief video will just be to sort of orient you to what you will see and help you as you are beginning to put your assignments together and start to think about how you're going to sort of tackle some of the assignments. So I'm going to share my screen with you and just sort of walk you through the syllabus, as well as the reading journal instructions and the guide for the Christian art work or material culture presentation that you will see on the syllabus as well. So let me see if I can get a hold of the syllabus here. So what you will see if you open the syllabus is a PDF version where all of my information is available. You'll see it right here. And let me see if I can. See if that shows up. In any case, you'll see my information here. I am available, you'll notice, for office hours, virtual, or if you happen to be in Oklahoma and are just taking this online, I'm also available in person. Monday and Wednesday from 2 to 4 are sort of the times that I've set aside for office hours. However, if you need to get in touch with me and that just will not work with your schedule, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll set up a time where we can meet together. The course description is something that you can find in the handbook. This is taken straight from the course catalog. And so basically what you need to know is that we'll be covering essentially Christianity and antiquity all the way up to the Renaissance on the eve of what's known as the Protestant Reformation. So that'll be roughly first century to sort of the turn of the 15th, 6th century into the 16th. In terms of course goals and objectives, I'll let you read those. I'll just highlight that a few of the things that we'll be doing in terms of assignment. If you're wondering why in the world was I assigned this, this will give you sort of my take on why I've structured the course in the way that I have. The 3 required texts that you will need for this are listed here in required textbooks and materials. Dearman McCulloch is going to be your sort of first line of defense in terms of orienting you to whatever it is that we are talking about for the week. So your primary source readings, which will be sort of the first person accounts that I want you to read, I want you to hold off on those until you've read McCulloch. Now, in reading McCulloch, you do not have to memorize every single page. You don't have to remember every name and every date. It's really just a way to sort of give you the lay of the land for whatever it is that we're talking about. So that when you open up the lecture videos and when you begin reading in the primary sources, you'll have at least some sort of touch point where you can refer back to. The Gonzalez text is my attempt to provide you sort of a crash course into some of the discussions as to how we do church history, how we do historical studies, particularly looking at Christianity, but how you would take on historical studies in any sort of religious history. And Gonzalez offers a lens into some of the discussions and the debates that have been taking place in the guild of historical studies over the last 30 years or so. So I think it's a really interesting piece. I think it's a good opportunity to sort of acquaint you with the study of Christianity from a historical perspective as opposed to a theological perspective. Not that Gonzalez doesn't do any theologizing. You'll certainly find a little bit of that in there, but I think he's really helpful for sort of framing why it is that historians of Christianity do what they do, and how that has changed over the last 30 or so years. Dennis Jan's People's History of Christianity. This is really a way to acquaint you with a little bit deeper level of secondary scholarship, looking specifically at the whole purpose of this series. There's a whole series of People's History of Christianity, is to kind of get you outside of the sanctuaries and outside of the monasteries and outside of the medieval universities, and to look at the history of Christianity on the ground. What did normal everyday people do? What did they think Christianity was? What did they think they were doing when they entered into a church building, or when they partook of a sacramental meal, or when they had their children baptized? And how did those rituals, how did those convictions, how did those sort of ideas about what it meant to be a Christian, how are those things shaped by the surrounding culture? So there's some really, really interesting essays written by some just absolutely fabulous scholars of Christianity. So I hope that you'll take advantage of that text as well. It goes without saying, you're going to need some technology in order to successfully complete this course. Now let's turn to assignments. When we're talking about assignments, the important thing to keep in mind when you're taking an online course is that the amount of time you spend in Moodle constructing your discussions and responding to discussions and listening to lectures or watching lecture videos should amount to about 3 hours in class. So when I'm sort of putting the syllabus together, I'm thinking about, okay, well, you're not going to be in class, quote unquote, but you should still be spending that time interacting with your classmates and engaging with me, and trying to sort of frame your work in that way. So participation and attendance is going to look a little bit different, obviously, with it being an online course. But I want you to be aware that I will be keeping track of and logging how much time you're spending in your discussion, in your reading groups, responding to the statements made by classmates, and sort of engaging with the material via Moodle. I'm going to be looking at how much time are you spending watching the lecture videos, and that will all go into what amounts to your participation and attendance. So the standards for attendance will be the same in this class as they are if you were taking it on campus, which is to say, if I notice that you are not engaging with the material, I will have to respond to that with the likelihood that you will not pass the class. So let's talk about reading journals. In some ways, this is kind of self-explanatory, but there is a method that I want you to use, and the reading journal is going to be the primary way that I dialogue with you and that you dialogue with your peers. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to set up in Moodle discussion groups, and you'll stay with the same group for the whole semester, and it'll be a group of 4 to 5 people. And when you turn in your reading log, you will do so within that group. So it will be sort of a public posting of your reading journal for the week. Within that, then, your peers will respond to things that they find interesting, or things that they think might be consequential, or might spark a good discussion. Maybe they are engaging with things that they have written and responding to your posts. And so you'll be in sort of a small discussion group, but you'll be in that same group for the whole semester, and you will use the reading journals as the sort of launch pad for that discussion. You'll notice that each week your reading journal will be due by 5 p.m. on Saturday. Your response to your peers will be due by 11 p.m. on that same day. So if it were me, I would try to get that reading journal posted before Saturday if possible, and then make sure that you are responding as well. The reason why I cut it off on Saturday is because uh, we are all are very busy. A lot of you will have families, or you will have relational obligations, and I want to make sure that I'm honoring that, and that you are taking time to honor those obligations, that you are able to attend worship and not have to worry about turning in assignments on Sunday or anything like that. So Sunday is free for you to use as you want, if you want to read or whatever. But in terms of turning things in or posting things, everything's going to be due on Saturday. So while I'm on the subject of reading logs, let me very quickly turn your attention to, let's see here if I can find, oh, here we go. Okay, so you'll see on Moodle this document. This is your instruction for how to fill out your reading journals. I'm going to use reading log and reading journal interchangeably. I've gone back and forth over what to call them. So if you hear me say log, I mean journal. And really what this is a way to try and facilitate reading in a way that will help you to connect with what you're reading. Because I will try to address the things that are relevant in the readings, the things that I see in my lectures, but there's no guarantee that I can get to everything, right? And in fact, it just is not going to happen. There will be things that you read, or there will be connections that you make, or things that you think are important that I just, for whatever reason, may not get to. And so this is a chance for you to start putting those pieces together in your own study. So one of the ways that I want to kind of position you to succeed is by giving you this tool to make sure that your eyes aren't just scanning over the page. And you know, sometimes when I'm reading a lot, I'll find myself reading the same thing 2 or 3 times just because I forget if I've read it. I'm just sort of going through the motions. And so I'm hoping that this will help you to be an active participant and to free you up to say, I don't have to remember everything. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to hunt and guess what the professor is wanting me to take away from this reading. I have freedom as a student to engage in my own way using the tools that I have. So I'm hoping that this will be a good way for you to do that. But in any case, the way that I'm going to use this is by adapting Inge Hovland's method, which is known as the ICE-QQ method. Ideas, connections, experience, quote, question. So when you fill this out, that is how you're going to structure your reading journal. Idea, connection, experience, or emotion. So I'm kind of freeing you up there to do what comes most naturally to you. A quote from the reading, which could be a potential launch pad for some discussion, and then 2 questions related to the reading. Now notice that I am assigning you a reading journal for the week, not for each reading. So I want you to synthesize material. I want to be able to tell that you have addressed the main thrusts of the reading. So if everything in your reading journal is coming from McCulloch, or if everything in your reading journal is coming from People's History of Christianity, or if, let's say, on the week that I assign you, Augustine and Jerome and Athanasius, if everything is coming from Augustine, then I'm going to assume that maybe you didn't have the time to get to Jerome or Athanasius, or you didn't structure your week such that you could get to those readings. So, excuse me, I'm not going to police that. with strict scrutiny. I'm not going to be poring over your reading journals saying, oh, you didn't address this one, little piece. But I am going to be using these as a way of gauging, are you interacting with the material as I present it to you? Are you getting to the readings that I'm asking you to read? Um, excuse me. You're always welcome to give me more than what I've suggested. So if you have 5 ideas that come out, write 5 ideas. That's totally fine. Use these the way that will help you to retain the information, but you must give me at least what I have asked for on the page. When you respond in your reading groups, I want you to give meaningful interaction with 2 items from each of your peers' journals. So maybe that's an idea and a question from Cassandra's journal. And then maybe with Jeremiah's journal, it's a quote and an emotion that he had, right? But I want the groups will be small enough that you can respond to each of your group members. And I want you to respond meaningfully with 2 of those for your peers. Okay. And this is the first time I've ever done it in this way. So, 2 or 3 weeks, we'll revisit and see if we need to find some other ways to make this more meaningful. But I think this will be a good way for us to do this. So just know that I'm flexible and some things might change, but we're going to try this and see how it works. Okay, so let's go back to our syllabus here. In addition to the reading journal, this is going to serve the Christian art material culture presentation and paper is going to serve as your sort of major writing assignment in terms of getting you to engage with primary sources, getting you to read historical scholarship and utilize that and synthesize that in an academic setting. So you'll get the instructions for that. Read what I've got here. Again, 3,000 word paper. You're welcome to do more than that. I'll tell you that I'll probably stop reading around 4,000 words. But I don't want 2,700 words. I don't want 2,900 words. I want 3,000 words or more. Okay. You will also pre-record as part of this assignment a 10 to 15 minute presentation on what you have found. So what that means is when we talk about Christianity in high medieval Europe, for instance, if one of you is doing a paper on Gothic architecture, then you'll present on that day. If we're talking about the rock churches in Lalibela, when we talk about medieval Ethiopia, then whoever's writing on that will present their findings on that day, right? So we're going to stagger. So I will give you, I will post on Moodle sign up sheet for the thing that interests you, not in terms of a specific artifact, although you can request that if you'd like, but what week you want to present on, and then I'll assign you based on that. What you will see, it's not posted there yet, but it will be shortly. What you will see, I will give you basically kind of a little cheat sheet to get you started. So you'll get your instructions. Those will be posted on Moodle, so you can read through those. And then I'm also going to give you a methodology for kind of acquainting yourself with whatever you're searching. And then I will also give you, so for instance, if you are looking at the manuscripts of Toros Roslin in the 13th century, well, I'm going to give you a couple of secondary sources that will help you kind of get the ball rolling. Now, these will not be enough to give you everything that you need, but they'll be enough to get you started. Okay, so you'll be able to see that document on Moodle as well. Okay, let me go back to the syllabus here. Here we go. And then finally, as a way of sort of gauging if you're receiving the material, you'll have two exams, neither one of them massive in terms of grade percentage, but significant enough. And those will be administered through Moodle. They will be information that is found in the lectures, things from the art papers, as well as basic content that you find in the reading. So am I going to ask you a very specific question about what day the Crusaders reached Jerusalem in 1090? I don't even know if that's the year. No, I'm not going to ask you that right now, but I am going to ask you basic content, big idea questions, those types of things. I will provide you study guides, so you'll have a really good idea of what to study and how to study. And then I'll give you some more instructions on those as we come closer. But just know, if you're doing the readings, if you're engaging with the material via the video lectures, if you are watching your peers' art presentations, then you'll be in good shape. You'll be prepared for those exams. Okay. Grading scale you can look at yourself. Academic integrity. The big thing about this, I'll let you read that on your own, is a lot of times students they plagiarize on accident. They don't know that they're stealing content or they're stealing ideas. So if you are in doubt, please just ask me and I'll be happy to clarify for you. But essentially, my advice to you is, if you suspect that you should cite, you should cite. So please, if you're unclear, reach out to me. In terms of the types of or the citation form or model that we use Chicago. I think it's the 17th edition is the latest edition, which St. Paul School of Theology has access to online. So I'm happy to walk through that, and I may even post a short little video as we get closer to the papers. But yeah, just keep an eye on your citations and keep an eye on how you're addressing your materials. Accessibility and accommodation. I want to make you aware that St. Paul is committed to providing equal opportunity to all of our seminarians. So please reach out, and the seminary will do what we can to accommodate. The inclusive language policy. The short version of this is that when you write a paper in my class, when you present materials in my class, when you are dialoguing and discussing via your discussion boards or your reading journals, please use inclusive language. So generic third person pronouns, either he or she or there, are necessary for academic writing. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to address those as well. More policy information is available on the handbook. I've given you a link to that in the syllabus. Here you'll find what I think is, or what I hope is, a helpful guide as to how to work through the material and the content in this course. You want to do McCulloch first. You want to watch the video second. then you are going to want to read your primary sources or your People's History of Christianity or whatever else I've assigned for you. Then you're going to want to complete your reading journal every week, upload it to Moodle, respond to your group with 2 meaningful points of dialogue or discussion, and then take Sunday off, rest, take a break, get outside, go to church, do all those things. Okay. If you are confused about how to read primary sources, please, this is sort of your first line of defense. Helpful little summaries from academic sources about how to read a primary source. If you are unclear on what a primary source is, we'll talk about that in the first lecture. Okay. Class schedule. I will leave you to read this as well. Only want to point out that if you look at the bottom of each reading little chunk, I've provided you with a total page count for the week so that you can sort of decide how you want to break up your reading. Some weeks we go a little bit heavy early on, but then it does lighten up in the middle there, trying to kind of get you ready for midterms, and you're starting to do presentations and you're starting to get the ball rolling on some of those things. So I do try to lighten it up there in the middle for you a little bit. It picks up a little bit more when we get into the Middle Ages, but again, there are some light weeks as well. So if you have any questions on the syllabus or on any of the content that I have shared thus far, please feel free to reach out to me. I will say that this week I'm going to be noodling on Moodle and trying to get everything in order. So by Thursday, you'll see who is in your reading group, and you'll be able to post your first reading journal, which is due on Saturday. And you will also see more information about signing up for your art paper. So that will be available this week as well. And you will see the final version of that instruction on how to write your art paper. I will also, I think it's in the syllabus. Let's see. Yes. Next week, I will take on the art presentation. I'll give you a presentation, I think on either, like, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do crypt paintings or if I'm going to do Tunisian baptismal fonts. But regardless, I will give you a presentation so you can kind of see what that looks like and what I'm looking for, give you a good example. So I will wrap it up there with this video. I've already gone too long, but if you will pop on over and watch the first lecture video, then you will be in good shape to get ready for next week when we really do start jumping in. Kind of we hit the ground running very quickly. So I hope that y'all have a great week. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I am happy to be of assistance.